So you think you know the story of Paul Atreides because you've seen him win. Well, that was just the heroic setup. Today we're diving headfirst into the sequel, Dune Messiah, which is, let's be honest, a much darker and more complicated story. This is about what happens after the hero wins, and the entire universe starts paying the bill.
In the first book, we got Paul the Liberator, right? The visionary, the victor. But Dune Messiah flips the script completely. The hero becomes the tyrant. The victor becomes a prisoner, trapped by his own power and his own sight. So the big question is, how in the world does that happen? Let's get into it.
All right, picture this. It's been 12 years since Paul took the throne. That epic victory we all celebrated, it's gone sour. Now he's Emperor Muad'Dib, the most powerful man alive. But that power has built him a cage. A really beautiful golden cage, but a cage nonetheless.
And here's the cost of that victory. 61 billion people. That's how many died in the Holy War, the jihad, that spread across the galaxy in his name. Just let that number sink in. It's a weight that haunts every single thing he does, and it's absolutely crushing the man who saw it all coming.
See, here's the thing you have to understand. Paul isn't some power-hungry villain. He's a reluctant tyrant. He saw this future, this river of blood, and he fought like hell to stop it, but he couldn't. So now he's stuck, using his absolute power to try and force humanity down this one very narrow, very painful path he calls the Golden Path, because it's the only one that doesn't end in total extinction.
And that brings us to the great tragic irony of this whole story. His superpower, the one thing that made him a messiah, his prescience, his ability to see the future, it's not a gift anymore. It's his prison.
For Paul, seeing the future isn't like picking the winning lottery numbers. It's like standing at a crossroads with thousands of paths, and every single one leads to a different kind of hell. His only choice is to pick the path that is merely devastating, to avoid the ones that are totally apocalyptic. Every single decision is just choosing the lesser of countless evils.
Which of course raises this huge philosophical question, right? If you can see everything that's coming, are you really making choices? Or are you just a puppet, acting out a script you've already read? Is Paul the driver, or is he just a passenger on a runaway train, screaming because he knows exactly where it's going to crash?
Now, while Paul is having this cosmic identity crisis, his enemies are not just sitting around. I mean, when you declare yourself a god emperor, you tend to make some powerful people very, very nervous, and they are absolutely plotting to tear him down.
And it's a real who's who of his enemies. You've got the Bene Gesserit, furious they've lost control of the Atreides bloodline. The Spacing Guild, who are desperate to break his monopoly on the spice they need to travel. The Tleilaxu, these genetic manipulators with their own twisted plans. And, maybe worst of all, some of his own Fremen, who think he's become a false idol. Talk about a team-up.
But their most twisted weapon isn't some secret poison or a hidden army. It's a ghost. The Tleilaxu give Paul a gift, a Gola, basically a clone of his dead mentor and best friend, Duncan Idaho. This thing, named Hate, is a walking psychological bomb designed to prey on Paul's love, his guilt, and his honor. It's unbelievably cruel.
Paul's story isn't just about plots and politics, though. It's really this deep, profound look at what it means to be a messiah. And his entire struggle can be boiled down to 5 heavy, heavy burdens. So let's run through them. First, you've got the burden of absolute power, which doesn't just corrupt people, it completely isolates them. Then there's the burden of perfect knowledge. Knowing the future becomes a trap, not an advantage. He's also got the burden of fanaticism. He started a fire he can no longer control. Then there's the burden of the unforeseen, realizing that some things are just out of your hands. And finally, the burden of his own legend. The myth of Muad'Dib grows so big, it starts to swallow the man Paul whole.
All of these burdens are piling up on him, pushing him toward one final, tragic decision.
So what do you do? When you're trapped by fate, by your enemies, by your own followers, what's your last move? Well, for Paul, the only way out is the ultimate sacrifice. And the ending, it happens fast, and it is absolutely devastating.
First, the conspirators' plot comes to a head. Chani, the absolute love of his life, dies giving birth to their twins. This was a future he saw, one he tried desperately to avoid, but couldn't, and her death just shatters him.
And in that exact moment of grief, they hit him again. A weapon called a stone burner, basically a miniature nuke, goes off. It doesn't kill him, but it destroys his eyes. The man who could see all of time and space is now physically blind.
So he does the only thing left to him. According to ancient Fremen law, the blind are a burden on the tribe and must walk into the desert. So that's what he does. He gives up the throne, his newborn children, everything, and just walks into the sand to die, a complete and total defeat. Or is it?
Because here's the final brilliant twist. Paul Atreides, the man, failed. He failed to stop the jihad, he failed to save Chani. But by walking into that desert, he wasn't just dying, he was transforming into Muad'Dib, the myth. He becomes a martyr, a legend that will protect his children and lock humanity onto that golden path he saw. The man had to fail so the legend could succeed.
And that leaves us with the one massive question that hangs over the whole book. Was that final act a choice, a selfless sacrifice made out of love for his kids and for all of humanity? Or was it just the last desperate escape for a man so completely trapped that death was the only freedom he had left? The book never really tells you. And that, right there, is the genius and the tragedy of Dune Messiah.